The modern era of literature took place during the late 19th century through the mid-20th century. Some events that took place during this time were World War I, the Great Depression, and the beginning half of World War II. The modern era included things like surrealism, absurdism, and increased interest in myths and myth-making, bringing attention to depression, hopelessness, and disillusionment, religious uncertainty, and the mental relationship to the world of solid objects. The art of the era reflected the same concepts, some notable artists being Salvador Dali, Pablo Picasso, and Frida Kahlo. Surrealism was one of, if not the biggest movements in the modern era. The movement was all about highlighting the meaninglessness of the world and general reality, with the works more often than not bending the laws of said reality. An example of surrealism on our mural would be the World War I plane loop-de-looping into the World War II plane, as that is obviously not possible within our current perception of reality. Another big part of the modern era was absurdism. Absurdism is, as the name would suggest, all about the absurd. One of the most famous examples of absurdism is The Fountain by Marcel Duchamp, which is just a urinal signed R. Mutt that was hung in a museum. Examples of absurdism on our mural are the two collages of the author's faces from different time periods. Collage was a key part of absurdism, so it made sense to use it here. My poem was Cross by Langston Hughes. The other half of our mural was about the postmodern era. The era was about the elusiveness of meaning and knowledge, which was often expressed as a concern with representation and ironic self-awareness, as well as the belief that society is no longer governed by history or progress. Events that happened during the postmodern era include the latter half of World War II, the Cold War, the 1960s protests, the Vietnam War, and September 11th. Absurdism was also a big part of the postmodern era and can be found in the Big Bird head on a stick. Literature of the time reflected this in having very satirical and humorous themes. Our poem was How to Meditate by Jack Kerouac. This piece reflects the influence Eastern religions have had on Western culture in recent years. Another big part of the postmodern era is the diversity of authors. This is around the time when people stopped segregating as much. This is towards the end of the Jim Crow laws, the beginning of the civil rights movement. This is also when women were deemed to be equal to men in the workplace. So a lot of the literature reflects that fact.